And welcome to the show, Our Islam and Community Issues. My name is Naeem Sharif. Today we have Brother Benjamin Shabazz. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How you doing?
Good. I'll open up with a short prayer.
Okay.
We like to open our program with a prayer because we know we need all the help that we can get. With God's name, the merciful benefactor, merciful redeemer, we ask for your aid and your guidance. Amen.
Ameen.
All right, so the topic of this show, what did we come up with?
Current events, and there was something else.
There's something else we came, and we just had it, and I just wrote it down. But we're going to talk about current events and different things. Beware of the times.
Right.
I think that's where we came up. Beware of the times.
times.
So, as you know, and I know, time is always critical. But there's some times in human history where they get more serious. And it's like the seasons. Things go well for a while, pretty good, and then they kind of decline, and then they go back up, and kind of like that graph that kind of goes up and down. So it seems like we're in a time now of people who really need to know what's going on and have a plan to deal with what's going on. So now we're in this. How would you call it? We're in this cycle of there's an undercurrent of hatred, but this undercurrent of hatred is being exposed outright, and it's become the norm. And it's okay, it's all right, and because it doesn't affect me, so it's okay. So the latest, this thing, we're going to start with this thing about the President of the United States and his crowd talking about send them back or send her back. So as we know, as African American people, that's code language. And that code language, it didn't necessarily start, but the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, used that code language. It was, if you don't love America, leave it. So someone doesn't know their history, or they don't care about the history and the effects that it has on people because, quote, it doesn't affect them. So what are your thoughts on this whole situation or circumstance?
Well, it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Because knowing, like you say, people that are not affected by the negative side of racism,
Mm-hmm.
they can't fully comprehend why it would be scary.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about the history of our people, our race of people, and non-European people in America,
Mm-hmm.
it has all been scary. It's been inhuman. It's been grotesque. People getting lynched, people getting drugged behind trucks, people getting tarred and feathered and carried down the main street of town and taken to a place where they have hundreds of people that have come from all over the area with their kids
Mm-hmm.
to watch a black man burn, set him on fire. And they would have a picnic, and they said, let's pick a nigga.
Mm.
And so I was having a conversation about that term, and somebody said it doesn't mean that.
Uh-huh.
It's in the dictionary, it means such and such things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying it probably does.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just taking on a new arm of understanding. Because white folks would just get up in the morning and decide they was going to find them a black person
Mm-hmm.
and burn them, and then hang him, and then shoot him, and then cut off their testicles and put them in pickle jars. Then take pictures and sell them as postcards.
Mm.
So this is a history that elicits fear.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the civil rights movement that trying to get people in the South to vote. And many times the people say, look, this is a good idea, but when you leave here, I got to live with these Ku Klux Klan people. You don't.
Right.
So I don't want to disturb anything here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to shake up the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so to hear this term, send them back, that's what they used to say to us. Go back to Africa, monkey,
Right.
you monkey.
Uh-huh.
Go back to Africa. I mean, and it is really time for minority people, or I should say specifically African American people, Mexicans, Native Americans, to speak up and tell their story, because we cannot depend on other people who have not went through this,
Mm-hmm.
don't have to live with this, and if they do go through it, they do it voluntarily.
Mm-hmm.
They have to live with this to try to explain it away to the general public for us. And some people don't even bring it up,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So the issue comes up, why are y'all complaining? What y'all complaining about, you know? You had a black president, you know, you working every day, ain't you? You know, what you complaining about?
Mm-hmm.
They never understand or try to understand the inner workings of the psyche, you know, and the fear that's been instilled there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, sending them back is code language. Like, you know, like you said, well, what do you mean by code language? It's not saying go home nigga,
Mm-hmm.
you know. It's saying send them back. And all they left out was Africa, you know,
Mm-hmm.
send them back to Africa.
Right.
So she's Somalian,
Right.
she's African,
Mm-hmm.
but the fear comes in is when you have the masses of the people that follow along with that.
Right.
It's the same thing that happened in Nazi Germany.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there were the masses of the people. You know, Hitler would raise his hand and say, all for the motherland. You know, they would just bring,
Mm-hmm.
in the crowd. There was no individual thinking. You know, it was like, whatever we got to do to restore the hinterland or the motherland, that's what we going to do.
Uh-huh.
If we got to kill people, torture people, it don't matter.
It doesn't matter, yeah.
Yeah, and so this same ideology is being used, you know, because he called a woman, said she hates Jews,
Mm-hmm.
you know, she hates Israel. You know, this is like, you know, quick
Yeah.
response call
Yeah,
her, you know,
right.
she hates Jews. Oh, she hates Jews. She hates Israel. Oh, she hates Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to get her. We got to get her.
Yeah.
That, what they call it, mob mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then he went on to say she hates this country,
Yeah.
you know, and what they don't talk about, he really put her life in danger
Mm-hmm.
because he called her a terrorist.
Yes. So I guess, so if you don't agree with 45, then you're against America.
Mm-hmm.
You don't love America,
Mm-hmm.
and you might, if you're brown, then you're a terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, if you use that same thing, well, he didn't agree with Obama, and so does that make him un-American? Or you know, so that's that same thing. And let's just go back on that, the whole birtherism thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he said, "Oh, I got people looking into this," you know, and then he couldn't come up with anything. And then then when it got close to the election, he says, "Well, I got people in there. They've gone over there. They've found some things and blah blah blah." And then you comes back, and then oh well, you know, it's okay. All that stuff you put out there, you know, about the man, made up stuff you don't. Oh, you know, it's okay now. It's okay. So it's a con.
Yes.
It's a con.
Yes.
Yeah.
Strategic con.
Yeah, it's a strategic con, because if people don't have time to think, to just do a little research, or they don't care to do that, they'll just co-sign it.
Yeah, a brother told me a long time ago, he said, to be a police officer, you can't have over a certain IQ. And I forget what that number was.
Mm-hmm.
It was either 87 or 90 or something. So if your IQ is over that, they're not going to accept you.
Mm.
And that was a real eye-opener.
Mm. So how long ago was this? Was this way back, or
It's about 10 years ago.
10 years ago? Yeah.
But I've seen police officers who you would assume,
Mm-hmm.
you know, would have training in certain areas
Right.
and everything. It just is, I don't want to say dumb as a doorknob. They're unaware of certain things in reality that you would assume they should be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And so that helped me understand it better.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Now, didn't you ride with police officers one?
Yeah.
Once? So
I
how did
took the training once.
Really? So
Yeah.
let's tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, when I did my ride-alongs, The officer I was with was a liaison between the Muslim community
Mm-hmm.
and the police department, you know, and he saw me do a khutbah at the Islamic school,
Mm-hmm.
and he said he had never heard one like that,
Uh-huh.
dealing with the community involvement,
Right.
et cetera, and he said he was really impressed. And so then we had a bond together,
Mm-hmm.
and so somehow or another the ride-along came up. I don't know if I brought it up or he brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I was always leery of ride-alongs
Yeah.
because somebody shooting at the police can shoot you.
Yeah.
Anyway, make a long story short, it was an eye-opener because I was asking him certain questions and
Right.
he was telling me certain things like, well, my sergeant told me there's black and white areas, then there's gray areas,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and he said, don't mess with the gray areas.
Mm.
Yeah, you know, so because I was asking him about how does people stay on the corner selling drugs
Mm-hmm.
in broad daylight where everybody can see it. There's no secret,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but yet, you know, they're trying to crack down on other things. So that's when he told me about this gray area thing,
Mhm.
because he didn't even know.
Wow.
But it was obvious this person was a snitch, you know,
Mhm.
and they was using him. They let him do his thing, his dirt, if he would give up information on
Mhm.
other things. The other thing was we was talking about if somebody gets hurt, like on a bus or something,
Right.
if they seem relatively okay,
Mm-hmm.
do you call an ambulance? So I was telling them, look, I call an ambulance no matter what, because you don't know what could happen later on.
Right.
A month later, your back might go out because of that hit.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have a record of anything, you know, you lose your insurance coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And his problem was he didn't want to do the paperwork.
Ah.
You know, so I'm picking all this up
Yeah,
as we go. Again, was a beautiful person, right?
Mm-hmm.
But some of the ins and outs of police work would put extra burdens on him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there was a bus accident. You know, when I asked the lady, I said, "How do you feel?" She said, "I feel okay." I said, "But we better call an ambulance." You know,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, "Oh no, I'm all right." I said, "No, we better call an ambulance because I know about these insurance companies.
Yeah.
They would turn you down in a minute. You know, you
Mhm.
should have called an ambulance. You know."
Mm-hmm.
And so we called the ambulance. You know, and he was pissed, but he couldn't really show it. But you
Yeah.
could tell he was pissed because
Yeah.
the paperwork. He talked
Yeah.
about how long it takes to do this paperwork.
Mm. Amazing. That's something.
And I got to add this on. We was cruising the neighborhood where these motels were, and a
Mhm.
lot of Mexicans that was in these motels. You know?
Right.
So we was cruising the area, and he started writing down license plate numbers. I said,
Mm.
"What are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Well, you know, I want to check out these license plate numbers because you don't know who these people might be." You know?
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Well, tell me, do you go downtown at the Westin and go in the underground garage and cruise that and take license plate numbers?" You know?
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me, and he just stopped. I said, "People come to motels to get a break from either from their home life or they got some personal business they're trying to take care of
Mhm.
or whatever, you know."
Or they're traveling, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're traveling, yeah, and you gonna spotlight the
Mhm.
place where you know a lot of Mexicans are.
Mm-hmm.
See, but you're not going to the Westin,
Mm-hmm.
you know, take their license plates and run everything. You know? So I just learned the little things that the people do that are racist, but they don't do it in terms of I'm a racist.
Right.
They just do it in terms of this is what we should do
Yeah.
to keep the community safe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking on that, just found out this past week that in the House of Representatives, in their place where they do their business there, in the House of Representatives, when they're on the floor, I don't know if it's the whole building or just in that particular spot, that you can't call the president a racist. It's against the law.
I heard that.
You know, so we looked it up. Wife looked it up and stuff. Oh yeah, it's there. And you know who passed it? You know, the Republicans passed it, and you know why? Because well, just look who they got in office. You know, so he'll say racist things, and but in the House of Representatives, in that chamber, that's what I'm looking for. In that chamber, you can't call him a racist. Well, so you just can't tell the truth then, huh?
Right.
You just can't tell the truth.
Right.
Because, you know, he talked about Mexicans, he talks about Africans, women, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, the list goes down and down and down. And it's okay. You know, he makes fun of handicapped people, and it's okay. Now, just think if Obama would have done any of this. Oh, and the kicker, when he talked about John McCain, when Trump talked about John McCain, wasn't my kind of war hero because he got, you know, captured. This is the Mr. Spurs. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But now if Obama would have said that, oh, he's un-American, he's this, he's that, they would have stormed the White House, the National Guard would have had to been out there, keep the people from coming in. But Don the con can say it because he's a good con man. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways he got elected, as you know, they say he got about $1 billion worth of free advertisement. Because anytime he did anything, the news was there. All the news outlets were there. You know, he goes to sneeze. Oh, he sneezed at 4 p.m. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever he did, they were there. And then now, you know, the news media is mad except for Fox. They love him. You know, he can't do no wrong. But they're kind of upset how he treats the media. But you all were part of that, boasting him up, no matter what he did. You had to be there and do it. So you were part of the problem. You know, it's just stupid.
Well, I got to share this. Also, what's scary and frightening is that after he made this statement about sending them back, mm-hmm. and all the Democrats went on to say this was racism.
Right.
Republicans were going to support the president and deny it was racism.
Mm-hmm.
I think except for 4.
Except for 4.
And listening to these people talk, how they talk. One dude said he didn't hear it. He didn't hear the speech. You know?
Of course.
And another one was saying, well, no, he's not racist. He's just you know. And then he said himself. He said he disagreed with the chant. Mm-hmm. You know, and he tried to stop it. And he's, you know, but listening to these grown white folks with degrees. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're not somebody off the farm. You know, they're educated. Mm-hmm. They got world experience. And they stand up and say, I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
You know, and no, I don't think he's racist. Mm-hmm. You know? But at the same time, they understand the nuances of psychology, mm-hmm. how to say certain things without saying certain things.
Right.
They understand all of that, being in politics, you know. And to just see those people become completely spineless, you know, I just sat there and watched this, one after the other, mm-hmm. You know. Nothing wrong with what he said. I didn't hear him say that, yeah. And all this kind of stuff. And it reminds me of the days of the Ku Klux Klan. Mm-hmm. You know, when they would have these kangaroo courts. A brother would be accused of raping a white woman, mm-hmm. or whistling at a white woman.
Right.
You know, and then you hear the people in the court, you know, they don't want to hear any logical thought. Mm-hmm. They just, hang him, right. Hang him. And then the judge says, well, we got to do this. Well, that doesn't matter. You know, hang him. And that's scary. Mm-hmm. See, and that's if you don't know your history, it might not mean anything. Mm-hmm. But if you understand your history, you know, a black person's life wasn't worth 2 cents. If the mob decided, the crowd decided that they were going to pass their own judgment on you. You know, there was no logic involved. You see, and that's what he's drumming up.
Drumming up.
I'm not dealing with your logic, you know.
I'm going on your emotion.
Just dealing with your emotions, you know. Send them back. Mm-hmm. Send them back. When in reality, these people were elected into the government.
Right.
They didn't just pop up and say, hey, I want to be part of the government. They were elected into the government. Mm-hmm. They have education. You know, they're prepared for these jobs. It's not people off the street. Mm-hmm. And so that's the scary part. That's the scary part, is the fact that and supposedly it all comes from the fact that we are responding to Obama being elected for 2 terms. Mm-hmm. You know, just the fact that a black man was over this country,
Right.
the leader of the free world,
Mhm.
we can't stand that.
Yeah.
And so we don't care if it was Mickey Mouse or Donald Trump. We don't care. Anybody running on a card to downgrade Obama
Mhm.
and everything he stood for, and that's exactly what Trump did. Everything Obama got put together, he destroyed it.
Right. Well, yeah, one of the things like the EPA, you know, that's supposed to regulate, you know, businesses and so forth to protect us, to protect the environment. But what they're doing, they're relaxing the regulations or getting rid of them altogether. You know, they passed a law where they could just, you know, just keep dumping stuff in the river. Well, that river feeds your water system. Your kids are going to be affected by that down the thing, but you don't care.
It doesn't matter.
It's profit, it's money.
But it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
As long as if Obama did it, we don't want it.
Yeah, if Mama did it, we don't want it.
If a black man did it, undo it.
Undo it.
We don't care.
Yeah.
You know, we don't care if they're gonna come to our house and shoot us. We don't care. If Obama did it, undo it.
What did the man say? The man said, he boldly said, he said, Donald Trump said, I could go on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody,
Yeah.
and y'all still would elect me.
Yeah.
He knew the psychology.
Yes, he did.
He knew the psychology. And it's just like one of the groups that have who support him, like some of the evangelicals, they support him because of the thing on abortion. Okay, I understand the thing on abortion. But once the child is born, y'all seem like you don't care no more. You know. Then there's another group that was pulling for him because they wanted conservative judges, you know, in the federal courts and also on the Supreme Court. And then you have some other groups with, you know, different things that they want him, you know, as long as they can get it. And then you got the white supremacists. They want him. That's their guy. That's their guy. So these groups seem to be, even if the devil was in there, as long as they got what they wanted, it didn't matter. And that's about what they got.
And that's what's scary.
Yeah.
There's no sanity anymore.
Yeah, there's no sanity, you know, because every time something comes out, it's like, it's not a surprise anymore because it's just like, okay, we're dealing with something that doesn't care, you know, doesn't have really our best interest at heart.
They have a child's mentality, which is absolutely based on emotion. Don't confuse me with the facts.
Yeah.
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 And that's what's scary, that mob mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting because we've seen conservatives before that had some decency.
Yeah.
But this stuff here it's just, it don't matter. It's all about power, money, and what we can get, and we don't care how we get it.
And what's the backlash? Look at the backlash. You got people calling the police on black people, just at random.
Oh, yeah.
For barbecuing in the park.
Yeah.
You know, and when one dude called the police because he went to go in this building and a black man walked in behind him, you know, and he said, well, do you live here? You know, and he said, I'm not answering none of your questions. But what happened was his son was telling him, Dad, it's all right. Because he had seen the boy, he seen the gentleman.
Yeah.
You know, and
the little boy, I saw that. I saw that.
And he just kept calling the police.
Yeah, I saw that.
Kept calling the police, and then finally somebody came up and started talking to the brother.
Yeah.
You know, and the little boy said, "See, I told you, Dad. I told you, Dad."
The little boy had more sense than the dad.
Yeah, and he wouldn't stop.
Yeah, he wouldn't stop.
He said it was on the phone. He wouldn't stop.
That's like there was a African-American student, I don't know if it was at one of the Ivy League schools, I don't know if it was Yale or Harvard, you know, was in the lobby and I guess was reading or something, fell asleep, and the woman called the police and everything, and the lady had to say, I'm a student here, you know, and the police came and had to go through all this embarrassment and everything. But you let us start making frivolous calls like that, see who go to jail. We'll go to jail for making, you know, frivolous calls.
Yeah, they'll pass a law.
Yeah, they'll pass a law.
And no frivolous calls.
No frivolous calls. Yeah, so we will get it.
But they should pass a law for that now.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should. But like I said, you know, if we start doing it, you know who's going to go to jail. It's not going to be them. It'll be us. There was a statement I saw. It says, "We don't want the good old days. We want the good from the old days." And that's, I think, a quote from Imam W.D. Muhammad. You know, just bring some common sense to this thing, man. You know, it's like I say, it could get You know, there's things. You know, it could get out. It could get out of hand. You know.
Well, it is out of hand.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You're right. It is out of hand.
It is out of hand.
It's ridiculous.
But the Imam Muhammad also brought about remove all racial images
Mm-hmm.
for those who attempt to portray the divine.
Right.
This is a deep-seated concept that is implanted in the minds of children,
Mm-hmm.
white children and black children,
Mm-hmm.
that the race of people that God chose to re-enter this world in
Mm-hmm.
is Caucasian.
Right.
So anytime you attach divine to something, divine rights to something,
Right.
then you're attaching divine rights to white people.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter how poor they are, how ignorant they are, and how dumb they are, you know, they still better than a nigger.
Mm-hmm.
And so then for black people, they it's not if you accept it or not. It's all around you.
Right.
It just sweats into you.
Mm-hmm.
Then you see white people as being better than you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ones who haven't fully was sold on that, you know, you get them with drugs,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and lock them up. See, but that concept is a sweeping concept that you don't have to have a class on. It's just
Yeah.
there.
It's there.
It's
yeah.
just there. And there used to be a saying what old folks used to say, white man's ice is colder than our ice.
Yeah.
Colder than black man's ice.
Yeah. That is something. That is something. Well, you know, we talked about some of the things. Beware of the times, things that are happening. You know, I think one of the things when I think about this is that, you know, people always try to make us the other. You know, as like we are not Americans, you know, or have a share in this. You know, we see the bad in America, but we also see the good. So we want to be part of that which helps the good promote the good. You know. So I mean, this is what we try to do on this show: promote the good, talk about what's going on negative. Let's have some solutions and fix those things, because we'll be judged on whether we try to work within the social justice arena by making whatever contribution we can make. So with that, thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Peace be upon you.
Peace be upon you.
Peace be upon you.